Good evening and welcome to the new season and a new episode of the Neoliberal Round. We have been offline on break over the past couple of weeks, and we're back with something bigger, more content for you. So much has transpired and so much is happening. Breaking news coming out of the White House as it relates to what's going on in Ukraine. Russia has invaded Ukraine, despite of the threats of sanctions, and despite of the sanctions that has already been applied to Russia. Russia is still determined, or seem to be adamant, that it will be invading and has started the invasion process. In fact, there are some towns and cities inside of Ukraine where you find Russian loyalists, and those cities are now occupied by Russia. It's easy for Russia to occupy those cities when you can find loyalists in those places that's loyal to Russia. But we're hearing from earlier reports from MSNBC, CNN, Fox, and other mainstream media that, and from the reports we're getting from Russia and the reports that I have read and I have seen, Vladimir Putin has indicated that they are hoping to go deeper into Russia, and he seemed to be very dismissive or Hitleric or Hitlerian in terms of the fact that he doesn't care about anything and anyone. This is what he's going to do. I think Germany has responded in terms of they have discontinued or halt the pipeline that goes from Russia through to Germany, and we believe that the sanctions. We thought that the sanctions that were applied previously were sanctions that would cause Russia, to change their mind, but that's not the case. Excuse me, please remember that some years ago, I believe that Russia had invaded Crimea, and there were threats of sanctions, and they still invaded Crimea. And they applied sanctions upon sanctions. How many more sanctions can the U.S. and the United Nations apply? We thought that they had already applied enough sanctions that would have caused Russia to not invade Crimea, that would cause Russia to pull out of Crimea. But now they're invading the whole country of Ukraine. In fact, that was the idea. They wanted to go into Ukraine, and they already had positioned themselves in Crimea, and that is why many persons are not as confident in terms of with how the United Nations, the international diplomats in the U.S. are dealing with the Russian situation. Obviously, sanctions are not working with Vladimir Putin, and we are yet to see what's going to happen, if it's going to create some kind of destabilization effect in Europe and by extension the world. But so that's what's happening. Breaking news on that front, which we haven't had the time to explore. But while we've been offline and off air, we've been, of course, you know that we have several different news feeds and social media feeds where we continue to report and put out news and provide articles and stories and papers and so on and so forth. Notably, ronaldocmckenzie.blogspot.com. We continue to provide blogs and articles and stories on that feed. We also are on. We also have a new LinkedIn page with LinkedIn commentary, which is called the Neoliberal Commentary. You can go to my LinkedIn page, Ronaldo C. McKenzie, or the Neoliberal the Neoliberal Corporation on LinkedIn to access some of our posts, some of our and some of the articles and the newsletter. We also have, you could also check out my Twitter feed, Ronaldo Mackenzie, to see our latest tweets and posts and reviews as well. We are also on Facebook and academia.edu for my research interests, research papers, drafts, studies, dissertations, and so on and so forth. You can access that on rmackenzie.academia.edu. But and the neoliberal.com website has been offline since the beginning of January, but we're working on some issues, working through some issues. There are some glitches. We've lost a lot of our content, but we are working to restore the content back and also to add more content. And we're also planning on reworking the website so that it's user-friendly, it's easier to peruse and to navigate and to access for those persons who are interested in purchasing my latest book, Neoliberalism, Globalization, Income Inequality, Poverty and Resistance. It's kind of difficult to find unless you go to Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Target, Walmart, Kobo, and the millions of other feeds. But if you want to access that directly from us here at the Neoliberal or from the author, I have created an eBay website. It's RenMec90. If let me look for it right now and share it with you guys. It's RenMcke90. If you enter that, HTTPS www.ebay.com/RenMcke90. Because if you go on eBay and type in our product, Neoliberalism, Globalization, Income Inequality, you find several different sellers selling the book. But if you're trying to purchase it directly from me and you want a signed copy sent out to you, you can go to straight directly to my eBay page, which is RenMcke90, and it should come up. And if you need to reach out to us, you can reach out to me at ronaldocmckenzie@gmail.com. Again, the contact or Ronaldo Mackenzie at the neoliberal.com. But the safest way to contact us, of course, again, is through our social media pages, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, or you can send me a direct email, which is ronaldocmckenzie@gmail.com. Today I want to, we have, as I said earlier as we begin, we have a lot of content. And there's so much been happening with all in the world, and I want to spend some time to lift up some news for you if I could find that. But let me tell you if you go to my newsletter on LinkedIn, the latest newsletter article is called Revisiting and Reimagining the Black Nigger Within Neoliberal Capitalism. You know, Billy is a nigger. He don't give a sh, sh, asterisk t, which is a curse word, which I try not to. I would like everybody to listen to this podcast, so I won't say that S word, but it's the title of the article on LinkedIn is Revisiting and Reimagining the Black Nigger Within Neoliberal Capitalism, semicolon, open quotation. You know, Billy is a nigger. He don't give a sh about nothing. End quote. And that's the title of the article. It was submitted on February 20, 2022. It is explosive. And I invite you guys to check it out. And we will actually, one of our episodes, we will actually be sharing from this particular article. And we will have it also available on my other feeds, which is the ronaldocmckenzie.blogspot.com. I will also have it available on the Neoliberal website as soon as we get that up and running. We also did another article that you might find interesting. It's called, and it's a weekly newsletter in the Neoliberal commentary. On February 12th, the post that we did was entitled Racism, Ethnicity, Nationality, Gender, religious affiliation, sexual orientation, and our tendency to group people into race is is a strategy for control. Is strategy for control. Is a strategy for control. Is a strategy, because I just noticed that there is a major typo error when I was revisiting the article. So that's the article. The other article is and we will share from that. We will share that article as well. Um, the other one that we did one was on January 31. It's called A Short Response to Sarah Jacobs' paper entitled "The Influence of Writing on Platonic Thought." The influence of writing on Platonic thought. Another major story that you guys missed. This one was on January 30th, 2022. It says auto theft and robberies have exploded in Philadelphia, and it's getting worse while the city does nothing but to reveal plan on paper. And I actually have an updated. I have an update. I have updated information as it relates to this article, which when I'm finished with this podcast, I will go back to the story and provide an update and add it to my other feeds as well, because as you know, that robberies and carjacking have exploded in Philadelphia, and I am a victim of that twice. And thirdly, but not only am I a victim of that twice, but and of course, I did share a story about some of the information I have learned while investigating this particular issue. And just 2 days ago, I learned something new, which I need to update on that article, because we learned that persons were stealing cars, and young people were stealing cars in Philadelphia. We learned that it was young people, and they would rather young people steal cars, because the justification is that if you're underage and you're caught stealing a car, or you're caught with this in this situation, then nothing will happen. And I did report in the article and learned through a source, from a police source, that the reason why nothing is happening as it relates to um, serious arrests and any serious dent in auto theft and robberies and carjacking in Philadelphia is because as soon, I think over 8,000, we reported over 8,800 carjacking or robberies last year, or 750 car theft, and they arrested about 7 or 8, and only 2 or 3 remains in jail up to the time we reported it. And probably part of the issue is the fact that it's a strategy by the criminals. They're young, and the next thing we are learning is that most of these cars are being shipped to Africa or overseas as soon as they are stolen, and now we reported that persons were being paid. These young bulls were being paid, and we use the word young bull because that's how they're called in these communities. Young bull, young people, adolescents are being paid 4,000, 2,500, and up to 4,500 or $5,000 for low-end cars. 2,500 for high-end vehicles. It's about 4,500, and these cars are being shipped. But I believe that they're still trying to work on putting a dent in this. Since recently, they did recover the stolen vehicle, and they did recover several persons. But there's more. But so we will share that story for you as well. There's some other stories that we did in the past that we didn't get a chance to lift up on our podcast, which I want to share. One of them was done on April 3rd, 2021, in the Neoliberal Commentary. It's called "Your Risk Aversion Determines If and How You Gamble, If and How You Invest, and How You Earn a Living as an Entrepreneur or a Person Who Works for Others." And another and final story that we want to lift up from the Neoliberal Commentary in this season's podcast is it's called, which was very explosive. This one was written March 3rd, or published March 3rd, 2021. The title of this story is called "A Conspiracy Theory, Myth or Truth? COVID the Democratic plot to win the U.S. elections, and the burden and difficulty for Republicans to find proof. And this was on March 3rd, 2021. You can see all these stories, these four stories that I lifted up just now, which we will share on our podcast, in our upcoming in this season, in one of the upcoming episodes. So you could look out for that. We have several other things that has happened. We also have the Neoliberal podcast, the Neoliberal blog, Ronaldo C. McKenzie. We want to lift up some articles and posts from our blog and have a discussion. We will also have visitors who will join me on the set here to discuss some of these issues. One of the issues we're going to be lifting up is Roots Financial Group has acquired a 42% stake in Quick Cart. That was published on February 22. The reason why this is major news alert for me and for us here at the Neoliberal, the book Neoliberalism that we have written, we conduct research about what's going on in the global south. What independence do they have to control their lives and to experience some kind of wealth? And it's good that we are seeing some positive news where younger people are now getting involved in making a stick within the Caribbean, owning. I think Roots Financial does the same thing as Western Union, but it's locally owned by local people. This is good. Another thing we want to lift up, another story that we did was on February 19. The story was called In Jamaica. Now, this story hasn't been published yet, and we haven't discussed the story. It's actually, we have written the story, and it's written in a dialogue form because it's a conversation I had with another scholar of mine who we got into a very heated conversation and about a post that was posted via Facebook and shared to a group of people, and the post suggests that in Jamaica only white people can access certain beaches and places, and of course that's what Lenny Linton was suggesting in his posted video via Facebook. The video is no longer available on Facebook. They have since pulled it down since we made that particular posting and video available and public. And but we are going to be. I'm going to lift up some conversations and some back and forth that we had. We're going to have the gentleman will be joining us in the studios. We're going to publish the article in the upcoming, actually, sometime this week in the Neoliberal. We have the neoliberal.com website will be relaunched and be available sometime this week. And one of the top stories or top articles or posting that we will publish is this particular article. Which is not available as yet. It's called In Jamaica, Only White People Can Access Certain Beaches and Places. That's the name of the story, which we will broadcast for the podcast. We will also have it available in this as a top story in this week's post of the neoliberal.com. It will also be available on the Neoliberal commentary as of Sunday in my LinkedIn news feeds, and it will also be available on the Ronaldo C. McKenzie.blogspot.com blog site this weekend as well. So that's a major story. I can't wait to make that story available to you. Another story that we are working with that we want to lift up for this season of the podcast it's called ESPN First Take. Who had the more difficult path to greatness, MJ or LeBron? We want to share. We're going to be discussing. There's been a lot been happening in sports and we also have an interest in sports. So we're going to be talking about LeBron James, Michael Jordan. We also want to discuss, there's another story I want to lift up. It's called Schools Teach Students What to Think Instead of How to Think. Lex Friedman asked via his LinkedIn page, schools teach students what to think instead of how to think. Now, I replied via a voluminous response on LinkedIn, which I turned into a post and an article, which I have since blogged. We will share some comments from that and have a discussion about that. So there's been some major updates as it relates to sports again. Philadelphia Sixers. The Philadelphia Sixers traded Ben Simmons and two low-key players, Andre Drummond and Seth Curry, to Brooklyn Nets and acquired James Harden. And of course, much has been said as it relates to that trade. And one of the questions coming out of ESPN and many of the pundits since this trade is, can the Philadelphia 76ers rely on James Harden to make a deep playoff push? The reason behind that trade, according to James Morey, was because they want to win now. So we're going to be we're going to be having a discussion about that as well, and all things sports. Some other things that we're going to be lifting up, the integrity of professional sports. There's so much news been happening with sports. We're going to be discussing an article that I have written, and it's available in my blog. It was written or submitted on February 13, 2022, in the Neoliberal in the Neoliberal blog, RenaldoCMcKenzie.blogspot.com. The name of the article is called "The Integrity of Professional Sports Are in Jeopardy." The integrity of professional sports are in jeopardy. The integrity of professional sports are in jeopardy, especially for the National Football League, when a former Miami Dolphin coach revealed not just blatant racism by the NFL, but how teams in the background fix matches so that they deliberately lose games to get better draft picks. Further, it speaks volumes about whether we can trust the integrity of betting if sports teams are paying players or coaches to tank games when people are betting one way or the other. We're going to be discussing that story as well, along with many other stories. So, for example, there's one story that was actually from last year that we never got a chance to discuss. One was published in one was this year, January 22, The Foundations of Knowledge and the Hegemony of Faith. The Foundations of Knowledge and the Hegemony of Faith. And I did this article in response to a research paper I was preparing to submit at Georgetown University in partial fulfillment of the Doctor of Liberal Studies. And I begin by saying, for when and if we've connected with God, we shouldn't privilege that personal realization steeped in human prejudice or personal interpretation of that revelation, which was probably meant for me and my divine connection. Yet we have sought to universalize a brand of divine intervention as if to proselytize or to create franchises instead of providing a perspective that may help to inspire and advance a human soul and preserve life. For if life is to be preserved, then at times an intervention that is divine may suffice to appease that divine goal of life and the enjoyment it brings the gods. Of course, I'm going to stop there. That is an article, a post that I submitted, and it's part of a conversation or discussions I've had within a particular paper, which I want to lift up with you because it's very revealing as we think about society today and its foundations that gives rise to what the dynamics of society looks like today. And of course, the last one I will discuss, the last from this particular site, which would for this season, is this one was published on January 22. It says the title is And when I published this article, many people in the transgender community and people who are gay unfriended me. But I said the transgender community, such as LGBTQIA and trans equality, et al means and others, should not be fighting for equal status for their athletes in sports in terms of getting them to compete with their new male or female counterparts. The transgender community, such as LGBTQIA and trans equality et al, should not be fighting for equal status for their athletes in sports in terms of getting them to compete with their new male or female counterparts. It still breeds a level of unfairness that you're fighting against. You need a new event or category with mixed trans people, given the complexity of their biology. And of course, we're going to be discussing that one of the stories on our blog, on our podcast. And of course, we're going to also I'm going to be lifting up some stories that we did in our mackenzie.academia.edu. One of the discussion points that we will have is entitled the development of power, privilege, position, and status within the foundations of historical literature and divine intervention. This particular topic is actually 40 pages of discussion, which we may have to break up into 3 different episodes. So this season of the Neoliberal is going to be a much longer season, because we're going to be discussing quite a few things. And this particular topic, which I can't wait to delve into, which is the development of power, privilege, position, and status within the foundation of historical literature and divine intervention. That particular topic, I'm looking forward to that. It's part of the basis of my dissertation, and it's also a continuation of the discussions from my 2 previous theses and my book, Neoliberalism. So I'm looking forward to that. Another discussion that we want to lift up from one of the posting I had in my academia.edu website, journal articles, is we want to look at redistributing income to the poor, comparing social assistance in Jamaica and the United States. This was submitted. This research paper was done many years ago. This research paper was done in 2010 to 2012 in Jamaica. 2010 to 2000. So a lot of the information is dated, but I want to spend some time to lift up some information that looks at poverty and comparing them. But we may not have time to look at that. But those are some of the things that we are going to be discussing in this season. Of course, we will continue to look at current events as they develop. The new event, the current trend is Russia and their invasion. And just remember when and I wanted to, if I'm not wrong, the last time we heard about Russian aggression, where they are trying to where they intimidate weaker and smaller countries, was when another Democrat. No, please. I do not promote Democrats or Republicans on this particular show. In fact, if I were to tell you this, if you look at my blog, in my blog, I said in my blog that the most important thing is, what is the ultimate of all things? And if you open up my Neoliberal, my RonaldoCMcKenzie.blogspot.com, which is a blog site which I started in 2010, my first blog site, I have as I pinned at the top of that blog site a particular blog that I did, which I believe formed the basis behind everything. I said, what is the ultimate of all things? That we become one with reality and with humanity in all of our individuality. A man said, once you label me, you negate me. Kierkegaard. Indeed, culture of categories, groups, and labels minimize, mitigate, and or manage change. Change is not possible when people are divided. And I talk about you can be a liberal, but privilege that. And it becomes part of the conservative thought of the day, even when once the liberals have won the day, yes? And then conservatism is that old orthodox traditionalism that probably won the conversation of the day. So, I am against privilege and position. What I am for is diversity and equality. So I am going to make a point as it relates to Russia. But the point should not be taken to mean that I am Democrat or I am Republican. Okay? Because as a responsible, fair-minded person and as an academic, I have a responsibility to that which is true, that which is fair, that which pursues objectivity or even subjectivity without or pursuing perspectives that is not colored by my perspective. But the point I'm making here is the last time we heard of Vladimir Putin or Russian aggression or intimidation was when a Democrat was president or when Obama was president. After that, and when when Donald Trump came to power, we didn't hear much of any Russian aggression or intimidation. But now it's back again. Or maybe I'm wrong. But this is troubling, the fact that in the 21st century we're still having countries invade other countries with no remorse and is as if they have the right to invade and to trample on other people's sovereignty, independence, and freedom in the 21st century. That's a problem. But we will continue with these discussions, and I actually wanted now to move into what we want to discuss today, but I don't know if we have enough time. We have been online for 33 minutes, so we may not have time. So today was basically introducing, welcoming you all back to the new episode and getting you ready for the next for this season. Next week we will be looking at. Next week we're going to be discussing neoliberalism, globalization, income inequality, poverty, and resistance. In the next episode, because there's so much happening with that book, which I really haven't had much time to engage you guys with what's been happening with neoliberalism, and to have some time to discuss some of its contents and some of the ground-breaking thought. So we will pick that up for the next episode. And in the meantime, if you have any comments, any suggestions, you could send it to me at ronaldocmckenzie@gmail.com. Again, it's ronaldocmckenzie@gmail.com. Or you could go to my social media feeds, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, or you could go visit my website, www.theneoliberal.com, and you could send us a message there. But for now, the website is down, and we're working on getting it up by probably within the next 2 days. It will be up and running again. So in the meantime, you can use the other channels. I would like to thank you for supporting the NeoLiberal Round podcast. We are a locally grown, community-based podcast or news channel and we will only get better from here. We just published a book, 2 books in one, which I can't wait to. I'm so excited to talk to you guys about on the next episode. Tell your friends about this show. Support us. Tweet about us. Um, Share, talk about us on your Facebook, and tell us about how we can improve the program. Thank you so much, and I hope you have a great day. Take care.